I cannot get out of my own head, and I overthink everything when it comes to exercising. It just seems totally impossible. So my thoughts are just stopping me in my tracks, and I cannot get there. This is a big topic, isn't it, Sel?
Hmm.
Yeah, I think this is one of the most important aspects of it. It's like, how do I think about something?
Yeah,
Because those thoughts that we're having can really, really stop us from doing the things that we want to do. And so we
yeah,
really need to analyze, why am I having those thoughts? What are those thoughts? What can I do to overcome them? So that's why I thought today we might talk about some of those mindset barriers that we can have and how we might overcome them. Um, it can happen a lot when it comes to exercise that we get these thoughts that stop us. And when I started to think about that, I went, okay, they're often psychological as well as emotional. And I went down the path of thinking about it really is quite challenging to be real with ourselves about those thoughts. Would you agree with that?
absolutely.
Yeah, okay. So the first thing that I wrote down was this all or nothing thinking. And I see this a lot. And I've been working on that with a number of our newer clients as well too, because they think that they've got to be able to change everything at once. And it's no point doing it unless I do everything. And so we believe that, I've got to come full on in and do an hour's workout or a 30-minute workout. And if I don't do that, then it's not enough. So what that does then is, if I'm in that mindset of all or nothing, it means I do nothing. And so I'm in exactly the same place as what I was, however long ago it was, because it can really, really stop you. Have you ever been an all or nothing thinker?
No,
No, no, me
no,
either.
no. I
No,
will. I am a little bit at a time, little bit at a time, or I get done what I can get done.
yeah, yeah. I'm a bit like that, but I fit into category number two, which is perfectionism.
Mm,
I've got over this, and you've known me for a really, really long time. All the I's had to be dotted and all the T's had to be crossed, whereas now it's like, oh no, that's all right. Don't worry about it. It'll do. So
yeah,
that stems back, and that goes right back to my childhood, because I was this child who was not seen, not heard. And so therefore I felt like the only thing I could do was to do my absolute best, because if I did my absolute best and I got 100% on an exam, as an example, then I'm going to be recognized for that. And so that perfectionism, that high standard, just is so demotivating, because when you're thinking like that, um, if you don't get it spot on, you are again in your head and you're beating yourself up about the fact that you didn't get it spot on, or it
yeah.
didn't turn out the way you thought it was going to turn out.
It's going to turn out. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I think that can come like one of my is for the exercise and getting out of your head is that what you just said leads into memories. So if you're an
Mm,
exerciser in, your late teens, early 20s,
yeah.
um, oftentimes that's what we think we should be doing,
Mm.
whereas our bodies are not that person anymore.
Yes, yes. So we think what we did back in our 20s or our teen years is something that we should be capable of doing now. So we don't cut ourselves the slack
Yeah,
that we are aging. Yeah.
yeah,
And we shouldn't use age as an excuse either. because we are capable, but there are things that go on. It's
Yeah.
just part of that natural progression that happens in life.
Yeah.
The other one, Sal, that I thought of was this lack of motivation. So, we in our heads, we're going, I'm just not motivated enough. And we've done a number of recordings on motivation. And so I would suggest for anybody who is feeling like they have a lack of motivation that they go and listen to those. Um, but I think motivation really is peeling back the layers of what that real reason is, because we throw so many things at I'm not motivated to do it. And I think it can be that we don't have that clear sense of direction or purpose of why I want to exercise.
Yeah. Yeah. In all honesty, I think motivation is such a catch-22, because we're looking for motivation. We're not going to do anything till we find our motivation.
Yeah.
But we know from personal experience that when you do that action, you continue to do that action and build up that routine, you find your motivation then.
Mm. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. The next thing that I started to think about was just negative self-talk,
Mm.
Um, I I'm concerned about my appearance. So people are going to judge me because I'm trying to exercise. And, they're going to be looking at me. They're not going to be looking at you. They shouldn't be looking at you. They should be just worried about their own workouts as such.
Yeah.
So and it can be that I don't know what to do. That was something for me,
Mm.
so that very first time. So I didn't walk into a gym to start exercising until I was in my 40s. And that very first time I did that, it was like, I don't know what to do. I'm scared. I got butterflies in my tummy. I'm not sure whether I'm capable of this. I don't have the skills for it. And that's where we need to just go, I'm taking that step, I'm taking that action, and I'm going to rely on those coaches or trainers to help me understand what it is that I need to do
Mm. And
and
not being
how to do
afraid
it.
to ask questions. Like, you're not going to look stupid asking a question.
Oh, no. And it's funny, isn't it, that we do have a tendency, we're probably thinking lots of things, but not actually asking those questions. I
No.
wonder why we do that.
Yeah. And 9 times out of 10, if you have a good coach, they're going to guide you.
Oh,
Even
totally.
if even if you're in the gym and you see somebody, they'll answer your questions. They'll help you. There's always somebody there to help you. So never be afraid to ask the questions, because you're not going to look stupid.
Yeah, totally. Um, I did go down the track of time constraints as well too. The motivation and the time are the two things that we hear. So I'm going, oh, I don't have the time to do that. But the reality is, there's probably an opportunity to do 1 minute or something.
Yeah.
That there'll be little things that are happening throughout your daily life that would lend themselves to being able to do a little bit of exercise. We call those mini movements. So when I'm boiling the kettle, there's 2 to 3 minutes available to me. So rather than uh, continuing to work or to whatever it is that I'm doing, I stop and I do that 2 to 3 minutes of exercise. Every time I get up and go to the bathroom, I do a little bit more exercise. When I go out to get the mail, which is, I live on a farm, so my mailbox is a long way down, so I look at our kids, who live on the properties across the road next door, they drive to their mailbox. Whereas I walk to the mailbox, and when I get to a certain point, I start doing walking lunges to the mailbox. So there are those opportunities where we can grab or add in that little bit of exercise and movement to just at least get started. And that's where that all or nothing thinking, if we're thinking like that, then we're going to think that that's a waste of time and effort, but it's not.
Yeah, it's not. No, any movement is good movement.
Yeah, for sure. Have you got any that you are thinking?
I have. It's that, we're talking about negative thoughts, and I think as women, we don't want to upset those people around us that we nurture.
Okay.
So we're not setting boundaries, oh, but I've got to do this for my family, and I've got to do that for my family, and who's going to get dinner if I go and exercise, or, who's going to hang the washing out because, only I can do it the best type thing.
That's that perfectionism coming out, isn't it?
It is. So I think it's those boundaries, not being able to put boundaries in place.
Yeah, absolutely. I also think there's that fear of judgment, which I alluded to when I was talking about that negative self-talk as well earlier. We think that other people, particularly if we are in a public space, that they're judging us for our ability, what we look like, and that we can feel the impact of that if we think people are watching us as well too. And so there's that quote, not exactly what it says, but it's like, what you think of me is none of my business.
Yeah.
So, but those fears are real.
Absolutely. And it's also the fear of judgment from the people around us. Now, I experienced this when I started, strength training and working out and that sort of thing. And, I got in and got the work done. And so when you are losing the weight and getting into your fitness and that sort of thing, people are then judging you for it. You've lost too much weight. You don't look good. You've gone too far. So I think sometimes if you have, if there are people that surround you that don't like that you want to better yourself, I think they can pass judgment on you, or you think that they're going to judge you, so you hold back.
The other judgment that can happen, Sel, is from yourself. So you're judging yourself, and that's the worst type of judgment.
Yeah.
Because we are our own worst critics.
Yeah.
And we need to be our own cheerleaders.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we sooner go to the negative talk than the positive talk. Now, I'm just going to move my tripod back because
the sun's in your eyes.
Anything.
Yeah. I did notice
Sorry,
that.
everybody.
No, I did. All of a sudden that sun came out and it went, oh, it's right there in your eyes.
Big shadow across my face, so that's better.
Yeah. I think lack of confidence is another thing as well. That low self-esteem is such a big thing that can really stop us in our tracks.
Yeah.
Have you ever felt like that?
Yeah. Lack of confidence. Especially if you're trying something new. And, this goes back to what you said before about looking silly or stupid, when you're starting out at the gym or starting out in the exercise, starting out in your fitness journey. The fear of, that lack of confidence, because you think you're not going to measure up to everybody around you, that they're all so much better than you, and that you will never get to their level.
And I think sometimes we also need to realize that they started somewhere as well too, and that we're all unique in our abilities.
Yeah.
So therefore, what you do well I may not do well, and I
Yeah.
know that. So I will have some area that I excel in,
Yep.
and that's what I need to focus on, is like, I'm really good at this,
Yeah.
to boost myself, my confidence that little bit as well too.
Yeah.
I think we can be unrealistic as well, Sal, with our expectations of what we're going to achieve, on day one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, we need to be very, very real with what's going to happen, how long it's going to take, and embrace the process along the way, as
Yeah.
opposed to focusing on that outcome.
Yeah. Because we expect results, or our expectation is that results will be there, in 4 weeks. And we honestly won't see results for, you will see that gradual results, but you probably won't actually acknowledge those results for 12 weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And look, is there any other mindset barrier that I've missed that you want to add into the list?
No, I think I've covered everything, and I think you've covered, yeah.
Okay, because, I think to overcome like mindset barriers or anything, whether it's what we've given you or, something else that you've got going on, it's a combination of self-reflection and being realistic with what you're going to achieve, the goal, or why you're doing it. So, and being kind to yourself, finding some type of enjoyment in the process, and having a more positive attitude towards physical activity.
And I think also being very self-aware of
Yes.
those. You and I have done Gabby Bernstein's 21-day meditation.
Yeah.
And one of the things in there, one of the things she teaches you, if you've never done meditation before, you focus on your breathing. And she talks about negative thoughts coming into your mind.
Mm.
And she said, let them come in, acknowledge them. So you say something, okay, thank you for coming into my mind, and then letting them go.
Yes.
So I think with the negative mindset that you may have, it's very important to be aware of it. Don't just let
Mm.
the thoughts come in and go out, in and out. Like, be very aware of it. This morning you were asking the ladies what they do on their Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Yes.
And two of the ladies, it was, I only do this, blah, blah,
Yes.
blah.
Yeah.
And I just do this. Now, they don't need those words in there. It is,
No.
I do this and I do that.
Yes. Yeah, we have that negative bias though as humans, so it's very difficult to overcome that and to get into that positive framework all the time as well too. And so,
Yeah.
like, that would be the first thing that I would say as well too. It's that self-reflection, that self-awareness. What are my thoughts? What are my beliefs? What importance do I actually put on exercise? What type of goals have I set for myself? Are they, am I actually emotionally connected to these goals?
Yeah.
Or is it just something that's external for me? Because if it's external, what's going to happen is you might get started, but once you get there, you're more than likely going to give it away, give it up.
Yeah.
Whereas there are so many more health benefits to being consistent with your exercise, that we really want to look for not just that short-term gratification, but that long-term reward that comes from being consistent with exercise. So just being realistic in what do I want to achieve and why do I want to achieve it.
Yeah. Yeah.
The next step that I thought about, Sal, was being compassionate with yourself.
Yeah.
And just simply recognizing progress takes time.
We don't do that enough. We're not compassionate enough with ourselves.
No, not at all. Not at all. And yet, if a grandchild hurt themselves, how much compassion are we going to give them?
Yeah.
A lot. A
Yeah.
lot. So I think there's a lot that we can reflect on in regards to how am I being compassionate to other people and what can I learn from that and actually bring it into myself, be compassionate with myself.
Yeah.
The next thing was just finding enjoyment, whether that's dancing, hiking, skiing, fitness classes, whatever it happens to be, but actually enjoying the process of doing. So actually staying in the here and now, I think is really, really important. And sometimes what we find is the enjoyable aspects of fitness, we'll find that we don't have the skills that we need in order to, or we don't have that ability in our body to be able to support that thing. We start to notice it. So I think of Leslie with her kayaking. She'd never been an exerciser, never actually enjoyed it. But this one day she decided to try it and loved it. But she said, I realized I came home and I had to sit around for a couple of hours and have a sleep because I wasn't strong enough. I realized my core wasn't strong enough. And I realized that I needed to do other types of exercises that were going to support that enjoyable activity that I have.
Mm.
And
Because what can happen is,
mm,
she enjoyed that. She started out that kayaking,
mm,
um, and it could have very well gone the other way for her. Is when she got home and she, sat around for a couple of hours. She could
mm,
have very well gone. Well, I'm not doing that anymore. That's too hard.
yes, absolutely. But what she captured there was the sheer joy and pleasure that she got when she was out there on the lake doing it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Have you got a point that you want to add?
I did want to go back to um, what you were talking about before with the negative self-talk,
Yes.
um, and being self-aware. Um, Connect it to something. So when I say connect it to something, let's talk about you know looking silly in starting something. You know,
Mm,
think back. What have you started in the past that you never knew how to do, but you went and did it? You know, and you
yeah.
didn't look silly. Like, what you're doing at the moment with your speed walking. You've
Yep.
never done speed walking anymore, before.
No.
Um, but that didn't stop you because in the past you have tried other things and you've done it.
Yeah, because each year I go, what's something new I'm going to give a crack at? And the reality is, do I actually stick with any of those things? No, it's just like, okay, well, I've done it. I've learned how to do it. Did I get some pleasure out of it? What are the lessons that I've learned from it? So 9 times out of 10, I'm coming back to those base things that I always do, but I like
Yeah,
to experience something new each year. And that's why I take that approach.
yeah,
Um, and I think that's important is, you know, thinking about how am I actually stepping out of my comfort zone? Life is too comfortable,
yeah,
really.
yeah.
Yes.
And
Um,
I love that quote. Um, babies learn to walk; they don't give up when they fall
no,
over the first time.
yeah, yeah. When you were talking about that, I was thinking about that child that, I'm looking at who is just continually, falling down on their backside all the time. And I always have a smile on my face because it's one of the things that I focused on the year prior was because I've had lots of damage through my ankles. I've got, I'm not as mobile as I could be. I still do work on them. But, as far as squatting, to get down into a deep squat, I've got to have some form of elevation. But what I wanted to be able to do is not give that up or to compromise it. So I actually discovered that if I put the back of the horse float down, there was just enough elevation in that for me to sit on it and get my feet onto the end of it. And I could then do from those deeper squats, so right down into a jump, and I just kept on doing those all year because it was like, I I want to be able to do that, get up and down as a child would get up and down off the ground. And every time I would flop back down on my backside because I would keep falling and all that type of stuff when I first started at it. It was I would think about, the grandkids and how they just kept on going, and I'd laugh at myself and I'd go, okay, I need that grit that those kids have got. Admittedly, they're a lot closer to the ground than what I am. And they probably got a nappy on and it probably doesn't hurt as much. So, yeah. But I do like the fact that you mentioned that, challenging your negative self-talk and, developing that more positive attitude, it can definitely help a lot. And it's all about that growth mindset, and learning to love that process of doing different things. The next aspect of it, Sal, that I think is important is seeking support, so getting help. And having a positive environment as well too. So sometimes sometimes we might think that that support is going to come from our family or our friends. They may not be the right people because, they might easily get distracted and therefore they want to distract us as well too. So, sometimes having a fitness professional on your team is a much better option. And making sure that the environment that you're in is a positive environment. Yeah, your coach is going to, kick you up the butt every now and again as well too. That's just part of the process. They do it with love.
Yes, they do it with love.
Yeah, exactly. And I have said this one many times. It's about shifting your focus from that outcome, that thing you want to achieve, to what's the process? What are the steps that I'm going through?
What am I going to do today?
Yeah, exactly. The other part is allow yourself to celebrate the achievements and the process of it. And when you do that, when you allow that celebration, no matter how small it is, that builds your confidence.
Yes.
Are we going to have backslides when it comes to our thoughts? Oh, heck yeah. That's our mind is supposed to do that. It's supposed to keep sending us things all the time. So it's there for a reason. It's there to allow us to challenge it, to find some growth and continue on this path of developing as a human.
Yes. And don't downplay your celebrations.
Oh, no.
If you in 4 weeks, if you achieve your first goal, go and get yourself a mani or a pedicure or, plaster it all over your social media. Celebrate it. Don't downplay it.
Yeah. And look, your celebration, I'm not a big celebrator. Your celebration might be, just a bit of a fist pump in the air, or a big woohoo. But it's your celebration.
Yeah.
Again, it always comes back down to you.
Yes.
My final point, Sal, is allow yourself to be educated on exercise. And we are firm believers in this. because it's that constant, let's have a look at that technique. Okay.
Yes.
Where are you at now? Where was your baseline when you first started? Hang on a minute. We are noticing that you're regressing here. What's going on? Why is that? Okay, here's where you need to start to rebuild that. So here's the education piece associated with it. Like right now in our Fit Flexer community, you know, one of the things that we have been focused on is the benefits of push-ups in everyday
Yeah.
life. So the things that they do for you. So last week, you know, it was, here's your little video. Here's what we want you to focus on this week. You know, do it as many times as you possibly can. But we've also given a training plan, an 8-week training plan. So here, if you follow this plan through, you're going to be pushing out your 10 full push-ups, you know, no matter if you're 60 or 70, you're going
Yeah.
to be able to do it.
Yeah.
Do you have a final note?
My final note, and I say this every time we do one of our chats, going back to those negative thoughts, get a journal, write them down, and find
Oh,
out
yeah.
why you're having it. It always goes back to something, you know. No motivation, but why don't you have motivation, you know? I don't want to start because it's not going to be perfect, but why won't it be perfect? You
Yeah,
know,
absolutely.
it always leads to something. So, you know, we're big believers in writing it down because, you know, it's like the negative thoughts in your head. They go in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out all day.
Oh, they do. Yeah,
They
totally.
do. But when
Yeah.
you're writing it down, you can actually sit there and read it, you know, and you can go, oh, okay, well, that just makes no sense to me at all. I'm going to get up and I'm going to go and do a 20-minute HIIT session.
Yeah, totally. You know, and an example of that is one of our PT clients this week. You know, she'd been going great, you know, positive mindset. She's been journaling. And then she only missed one session, and all of a sudden she's going, I don't, you know, this time doesn't suit me anymore. Well, you know, it's almost 12 months now and you've been doing it at this time. So why now all of a sudden doesn't it suit you? You know, start to question that. You know, what's
Yeah.
going through your head? Why are you having those negative thoughts? And, you know, we talked about the fact that I said, you know, she said, I'm still journaling. I said, get cranky with yourself.
Yeah.
You know, write it all down. I said, and look at it from the perspective of you're not that person. You're just reading it.
Yeah.
So why are you, you know, why, or what are those negative thoughts that are stopping you from doing this? And, you know, she did it. Like she
Yeah.
did it. And you can see it totally changed again. And I think
Yeah.
that's where that support comes in as well too, Sel, you know, because what would have happened is if we didn't talk about it, then it wouldn't have been highlighted. She wouldn't have not done the actions. And if she'd not taken the actions, then she wouldn't have just skipped that one workout.
Yeah. Yeah. And journaling allows you to be completely and utterly raw and honest with yourself.
Yeah, that's right. Because nobody else has to read it.
No, no.
No, no. My final thoughts are, ladies, that, you know, remember a mindset makeover is a really, really gradual process, and it's individualized. So you need to be, you know, really, really honest with yourself. And, you know, if you need help, seek help from, you know, professionals,
Yeah,
because we want to be able to be as healthy and as fit as we possibly can. And that's not just physically, that's emotionally as well too.
yeah.
Thanks for joining me, Sal.
Thank you for having me, as always.
You are very welcome. Okay, ladies, I hope you got something out of it. If you did, please post below. Tell us what the most important thing was that you learned today. All right, so take care, everybody, and we'll see you soon. Bye,
Bye.
Sal. Bye, everyone.
Bye.